Welcome everyone. My name is Kasia Westwood, and today I am speaking to Daniel Cordwell, Head of Partnership at Hapstar. Welcome, Daniel.
Hi, Kasia. Great to be here today.
Lovely to have you here. Please tell us a bit about yourself and Hapstar itself as well.
Yeah, of course. So I guess to take it from the top and a bit of background on Hapstar. So Hapstar is a platform to support an individual's mental health and well-being. And what that means is it's a series of self-assessments where an individual can really understand a bit about themselves and the challenges that they face in both their personal and professional life. It can act as an early warning system to detect people that are perhaps on the cusp of a real challenge when it comes to their mental health and well-being. And then it's a tool to build out positive habits and set an action plan to really take ownership and responsibility for your well-being and get on that path to success. We really want Hapstar to be a platform for perhaps those people that are a bit reluctant or concerned about seeking help and advice, and maybe they're not quite confident in having a conversation. And it's a tool that allows them to check in with themselves, to understand and then be connected with appropriate support that's really going to support them and help them to look after and take ownership for their well-being. We, as a team, Hapstar's quite a new concept and a new business, but as a team, we have sort of over 10 years of experience working in the employability and welfare to work space. And we've always kind of been fascinated by that link between positive mental health and positive well-being, and then the impact that can have on an individual's employability, and not just in helping them to get into work, but also helping them to be successful long term as well. And we actually work with lots of private organisations and in the not-for-profit sector, supporting employee well-being, so allowing individuals to get the most out of their career by managing their well-being and having a real understanding and grasp on their mental health. And then me personally, so I'm the head of partnerships, as you mentioned at the start, and my role is all about really working closely with our clients to make sure their individual version of Hapstar is aligned to their goals and objectives. So that's at an individual level, so maybe supporting the participant to make sure that they're going to get the most value possible from the Hapstar experience, to the bigger picture of making sure that we're collecting data and insight that's going to be valuable to the organisation and really being able to evidence the impact that the Hapstar platform is having. So yeah, that gives you the kind of top level.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Could you provide some specific examples of programs you've worked on and the impact you've had?
Yeah, absolutely. I think probably the most relevant example for the 3SC community would be a recent project where we've partnered with Ingeus to support one of their DWP employability contracts. So it's all about, as I was kind of just saying, about getting people into work and then helping them to be successful when in employment. So Hapstar acts as kind of the triage tool where an individual can come in, they can understand a bit more about what their challenges are outside of that employability sphere, right? So the more we can help someone to really understand and look after their well-being, the better impact that's going to have and give them the best possible chance of being successful when it comes for applying for a job and then actually when they're in employment as well. So we work really closely with the delivery team at Ingeus and their advisors to give them more data to have kind of more impact when it comes to interventions, and to make sure that they can have really tailored interventions based off the back of the findings in Hapstar. And then the bigger picture is that we collect that data and give Ingeus a really clear insight into the kind of distance travelled on the programme that they can use for reporting back to the Commission, for example. Just to give you a bit more insight, I suppose, on the employee wellbeing side that I mentioned. So we kind of crunched all of our numbers recently and looked at sort of 200,000 data points we'd collected across various organisations supporting different employees. And the consistent thing we found was that for individuals that go through our self-assessment, there tends to be an 11% increase in how positive they feel about their well-being and their career, based on the first assessment through to then their third assessment, which is great, right? We want people to be feeling more positive and more engaged and ultimately more happy, right, by going through this process. What's really important, and I think how I caveat that, is it's absolutely fine for people's scores to go down sometimes, right? Life is complicated.
That's
Everybody
right.
has challenges and stress and pressure. And it's absolutely fine if you're not on, if your scores change and it fluctuates. Of course, that's normal. But having the ability to be able to reflect and understand why, and then the confidence to actually go and take action and get on the path to improving is sometimes more valuable. And sometimes that's a bigger win for us and a bigger return on investment for our clients than actually seeing that increase in the score, is providing that real support to people that when they need it most. And then another interesting stat we had from that kind of big data analysis piece was 1 in 4 people that go through the platform will actually trigger our early warning system. So that means a quarter of everyone that goes through Hapstar at some point will score low on a really particular key wellbeing driver and will be directed to in the moment immediate support to try and help that person essentially avert a crisis or pull them back from a particular challenge. And that immediate help can come from Hapstar, or it can come, in Ingus's case, direct from their service as well. But it's all about making sure anyone that really needs help and is at that crisis point doesn't have to wait for an interview or for a next intervention or appointment. There's immediate support in the platform that can help them. So yeah, that's really important and kind of gives you the kind of two sides, I suppose.
Yeah, having worked in employability for the last 14 years in both the advisory roles and management roles, it's the whole delivery to participants is always based around quality action plans. So one thing that stands out for me is the interventions that it suggests, the interventions for the advisors to put in on the action plans. So that's one thing that is really key. And I could see myself working with your platform as an advisor and making sure that those action plans are of a much better quality, which as a result would progress participants quicker.
Sure.
So how this works alongside offline delivery, such as employment advisors and experts?
Yeah, it's a good point what you said, right? Because there's kind of the big picture, which I've mentioned, which is all about providing Ingus, for example, or another provider with the data to really evidence the impact of a particular program, and more data on engagement is always going to be useful. But we do also really want to be involved in the day-to-day of that program, right? And making lives and work easier for individual advisors and experts that are on the ground working day to day with participants, giving them more insight from our platform that can help them to steer the work they do, but also reducing the workload as well, right? We want to reduce the need for lengthy triage interviews, for example, by providing some of that work up front, and we can cut sort of tens and tens of hours per advisor based on the interactions they're going to be having. And that's really important. And then it's that in the moment support, right? So if an individual does need help, it's there, it's instant, and they can connect with that straight away. And then the big picture is the thousands of data points that we can push back to providers to really show the scale of the support and impact that's being had.
Fantastic. So obviously our audience probably trying to visualize how the platform looks like. Is there anything that you could show us now to bring it to life?
Yeah, rather than go through a full bells and whistles demo, I can just pull up a few slides. So hopefully you can see that.
Yep.
Yeah, great. So just to give you a bit of context, because you're absolutely right, we've kind of gone round a bit about what we do, but I guess the nuts and bolts of how it all ties together is obviously really interesting for providers and organisations that are perhaps watching this. So first and foremost, Hapstar is the first process is that self-assessment, right? So being able to come in and reflect and understand more about yourself and the challenges that you might have in your professional and personal life, if you're in work, that is. If it's about getting into work, we can just focus on your personal life. But we always want to take that holistic approach for obvious reasons, right? If you've got challenges in your personal life, it's going to have a knock-on effect at work and vice versa. So that's really important, and allowing the individual to reflect and journal and build a really clear picture of how they feel, which they can then feed back to their advisor or to the provider overall. And then the next step is exactly what you mentioned, is that personal action plan. So I now understand how I feel. I've got a good sense of where I am with my well-being and some of the challenges I have. Let's go away now and let's really work on it and look to build out an action plan to improve. So we always want these action plans to be set in the real world. Obviously, we are a digital platform and app, but when it comes to setting these actions, it's about doing things that are genuinely going to have a positive impact on your well-being and setting small, achievable goals that over time can become habits and will have a really positive impact on the day-to-day well-being of individuals. But we do supplement that with content and learning that's in the platform, and that's quite important. Although, as I said, we want those actions to be embedded in the real world, you can also come in and browse through our e-learning, and there's videos and articles and all these things that we're asking people to reflect and think about, just so there's kind of instant advice and guidance that people can come in and kind of click through and get started on that journey, and they can build some of this learning into their action plans. And that's the big picture. That's everyone. We want everyone to be able to go through that process. You don't necessarily have to be struggling or at a crisis point to come in and reflect and still continue to improve. But for those that are struggling or perhaps are scoring low consistently, there's our early warning system, and we can identify that and we can connect them to real concrete support that's going to allow them to take, allow them to feel like they're being looked after and that there is resources to support them. And that can come from Hapstar, but it can also come from our partner organisations, where you will have the real expert advice and guidance, which is just going to allow people to reach out. And then all as participants go through that process, we'll collect lots of great insight on impact and the data that's being collated across all of these different assessments, and we can push all of that data back to you, or we can manage it in our own dashboards. But it's about giving you real scale to show the impact and engagement that's being had across a program, and that can be at a macro level, so you can look by a program or by locations or by an advisor's caseload, or drill down into individual participants as well. And we just want to kind of paint a clear picture of, okay, what are the things that are boosting this person's well-being and mental health, and then what are the drainers, and then let's build out an action plan, as we've said, to just kind of improve that. And then I guess the final part is we kind of touched on this already, actually, on your previous question, but what's really important is how we embed it and align it with the delivery of the program itself, right? We know from experience that you can have the best tool or best app in the world, right? But if it's not integrated correctly, then it's just not going to get used. So that's kind of our number one priority, is making sure it's aligned with your program, it's easy to access, and it's going to integrate with your current systems to ensure success. And that's ensuring success for the participant, that it's easy for them to use and understand and get value from, and then the bigger picture, that it's for your operational side as well. That's kind of crucial. And if we get all that right and it's integrated correctly and it's launched successfully, then it gives us the opportunity to kind of take participants on this kind of continuous journey, right? And they can go through that process of scoring and understanding and reflecting, and then building out that action plan and engaging with instant support. And then via a combination of the platform and our notifications and the app, and then it being embedded in the day-to-day delivery of that program, we continuously take an individual on that journey, and really start to build out positive habits when it comes to looking after their mental health and their well-being and their overall health, right? So yeah, hopefully that paints a picture. Obviously, I'm more than always happy to run a demo for anyone that is kind of interested in having a proper look, so please reach out. But yeah, hopefully that gives you a sense.
Yes, thank you. That sounds great, and it looks great. You know, I love the platform, and FreeSC definitely recommends it to all our audience. And the fact that you work closely and provide a platform to prime providers like Ingeus, you know, one of the biggest providers nationally, it just shows the quality of your product.
Hopefully,
so definitely truly recommend it. How can people contact you? What's the best way?
So simple email address is just daniel@hapstar.app. But we can share my details as well on kind of the post and that kind of thing, to make sure it's nice and easy to get in touch. But drop me an email, and we'd love to connect and arrange a time to chat.
And LinkedIn?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Daniel
yeah, can
Cordwell, you'll
always
be able to
connect on
find me.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, of course,
Brilliant.
that's a good point.
Thank you so much, Daniel, for your time today and a wonderful presentation. I loved talking to you, and yeah, thank you so much. Thanks to all our audience for listening. Have a happy new year, and please get in touch with Daniel if you're interested in finding out a bit more.
Brilliant. It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you, Kasia.
Thank you.